Do you feel comfortable enough saying no to a dance? And how to know when to say no to a dance? Well, let's find out. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In this episode, we are going to be talking about our experiences and our recommendation on how to recognize the right moment to say no and how to say no in a way that is going to still be nice and comfortable to continue a dance maybe another time. So, let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Alisson Sanji, and I'm here with our amazing co-host, Gui Prada. Hello, Gui.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Alisson. I'm glad to be back again. One more week, one more very, very cool topic.
Yes. We're both recovering from our event here in DC, Brazilian USA. That was amazing.
It was really good.
So much fun, so much social dancing. But today, we are going to be talking about something that we get a lot of questions from new students to very experienced students and to professionals as well, which is how and when to say no. That is for a dance or for a conversation, for any interaction, really. The way we want to discuss this can really apply to any part of our life. And to start with, I think the best is to talk about how to recognize that we are in a position that we should say no. When should you say no? Because before we understand how to say no and create that courage to actually say no to something, we need to understand what are the boundaries that would require that. We do understand as well that this will be different for everybody. So we're going to be talking about our perspective here and our recommendation as people who work in the community and want everybody to have an amazing time. So Gui, I'll ask you these questions to start with. When, for you, would you say no? Like a blank no? Or maybe just a maybe later, or not today, and all of the categories that you can think about. How does that work for you?
It was definitely a very long process because saying no, like you said, there are these two moments, the moments that you recognize that something is up with you, with yourself, and then voicing that something is up through the no, or through the maybe, or through let's see another time. There was a process that took some time for me to really recognize these moments in which a no works better for me. And it took some time because there was always this understanding that I needed to say yes to basically everything, especially in the dance community, especially now as an instructor. That was an expectation that I created for myself, that I needed to dance with everyone, that I needed to be there for all of the things, accept all of the work, accept all of the conditions for the work that is proposed. And through a lot of work with my therapist over the course of the years, recognizing to tune in with how I feel in my body and understand the sensation of discomfort that comes after the question is made or the proposition is presented, and really acknowledging in myself, in my own body, whether or not a yes will be a full-on yes, where I'll be able to be present and full in that situation, whatever that is. So I realized sometimes that I was saying yes to a situation and then going into it, and very quickly inside of that situation realizing I didn't want to be here. And then it was a process of recognizing that I didn't want to be in the situation before I get into the situation. And that is the thing that took some time. I remember in therapy when I was doing it some years ago, my therapist made an analogy of the boundaries as being the shores of the ocean and the shore of the beach. And then she said, you are so far in the ocean that you don't know where land is anymore. You cannot see the shore. So past my boundaries that I could not even recognize when they were crossed in a specific situation. And then bringing that to everyday situation, especially situations in the dance community, in the dance world, being able to recognize earlier and earlier and earlier the moment in which I'm about to cross a boundary of myself. And that boundary, I'm saying a very broad sense of the word. It can be tiredness, physical tiredness. It can be mental tiredness. It can be just like a break. It can be, I want to watch. It can be, I want to drink some water. It can be, I just want to be here and just talk with people. It can take any shape or form. So recognizing that, accepting it as a thing that I think will be better for me. And the most difficult part, accepting that because it will be better for me, it will also be better for the person who is talking to me, who is asking, who is making the proposition. Because then I will not be giving that person a half experience or a third experience. I'll be giving to that person the full experience if my yes comes from this place of fullness versus when my yes comes from this place of I'm not sure, so on and so forth. There is also like a differentiation that I learned some time ago that comes from like you being willing to do something versus you wanting to do something. Yeah. When I want to do something, that's my full yes. When I'm just willing to do something, it's not a full yes, let's do it. There is something in it. So when I'm more willing than I'm wanting, that's some moments that I come for a reflection.
I think there is another one there, which would be, I need to do something. That is because there's an expectation that's you put on yourself or somebody put on you. I'm willing, I need to, I want to, I have to. All of those things are so complex.
Very true. Very true. I didn't realize about this once because the needs and have to, they also come combined with the story, with the storyline of someone you're supposed to be or a way that you're supposed to be acting. I remember there was one event that we participated in that in the feedback form, one of the followers complained that she came all the way from wherever she was to the event just so she could dance with me and dance with my partner for that event. And in her wording, the way that she wrote the feedback, there was this idea, he should have danced with everybody. He should have danced with me and other people. So there is the expectation, yeah? And that expectation is something that comes from outside and a lot of times comes from inside, comes from the story that we create on how we're supposed to act or be like. And setting yourself free from it in a way that you are truly aligned with what you are feeling and what is it that you want to do in this place of fullness. I think that's one of the hardest things to do by far.
Yes. To start with, I want to also put the way I think about it. Is it emotional or physical? Because those two, for me, are usually the first ones that make me say no. I'm not emotionally ready to dance, or I'm not physically ready to dance. For example, classes that are just before a social, that to me is always a little struggle because emotionally, psychologically, when I'm teaching, I have a persona. When I'm social dancing, I have a different persona. So to switch from the teaching persona to the social dancing persona takes me a little bit of time. So if you come to a class that is just before a social with me, and at the end of the class, you ask me, hey, let's social dance, I will 100% of the time say, not yet. I just need a little moment to get into my social dancing zone. So that's more like the emotional. Sometimes it's the physical. I just arrived at the social. My body is not there yet. I don't feel there yet. My body's kind of like not climatized. Maybe I was sitting down at Uber for 30 minutes, so I just need to move my joints a little and my muscles a little, walking around the room, talking to people, which is, I guess, a mixture of physical and emotional and psychological. Then I feel like, okay, now I'm ready. Let's go. So those are the two ones that mostly affect me. And then on the next phase, there could be internal things or external things. So internal things might be all the things that you mentioned. For example, how you feel in that moment. Do you like the music? Do you not like the music? The floor? All of those things. Then the external could be the person or the expectations as well. It could be the person in the sense of, I've danced with that person before, and that person doesn't make me feel good. Or it could be, I know that person, and they said a few mean things about me, or my dancing, or my teacher, or my friend. And now I have this thing with that person that I don't feel very good dancing with them because of what they said in the past, or what they did in the past. Another external factor is how sometimes I feel exactly what this follower said in the survey. I feel like that request for a dance or ask for a dance is an expectation that I have to meet in order to make them happy. That to me is a big turn off, because I feel like I'm a glass of water that you're going to drink and then put down. So once you're not thirsty anymore, you're just going to put me to the side and off you go with your life. And that is not how I like to interact with humans, animals, anything and anybody in my life. You know, to me, it needs to feel like I'm here for you and you're here for me. And in this moment, we create this oneness that is the both of us together. And once we part ways, we're both still full because we fed each other. So that is something that I don't even know exactly how to explain in wiser and smarter terms, like maybe a psychologist or somebody with a lot of studies would. But it's something that I've learned through therapy and learned through a lot of reading and researching how to recognize those things and how to label them. So then I'm not just guessing. Because in the end of the day, I've said this before and I'll say this forever. A turning point for me in my life was when I learned that there is a difference when you say yes to yourself or when you say yes to something else or someone else. In the end of the day, my final boss or final judge is me asking myself, is this a yes for me and for that person, or is it a yes for that person and a no for me? That's when I go, case closed. There is no more conversation. Move on with life.
Yeah, and that's really hard to do. Really hard to do. I was going to ask if you remember the last time you were in a situation, let's say in a dance, that it was a no for you, but you endured all the way to the end of the song because you're like, oh, just until the end of the song. Do you remember the last time that happened?
Yeah, very vividly.
Yesterday.
Not yesterday, not this weekend, but yes, not very long ago. As I was saying yes, I was already saying yes reluctantly because I think the night before or 2 nights before that, while I was resting and drinking some water, this person asked me to dance and I felt something. I just did. I don't even know the person, but I felt something. And I do really trust that, energy, instinct, and that we can feel those things. And I did feel it. But in that moment, I was truly just resting and having a break, and then I didn't see the person for the rest of the night. And then the next day or 2 days after, I wasn't resting, I was dancing nonstop, and this person came and asked me. And I immediately had that reaction of like, should I take a break and say no to this dance? But then I asked myself, do I need a break? I don't need a break. Let's go. It was a yes for me. Even though I did feel like, okay, I have reservations about this, but I shouldn't make a final judgment. So let's go. If I said yes for me, I'm up for anything. And throughout the dance, I did feel something was not right. But something that I also recognize is that I end up just blaming myself in those situations. Just like I said before in previous episodes, you may not like to go to Mexico, but some people would do anything in their entire life to leave everything behind and move to Mexico. So understand that there is beauty in a place where you don't see the beauty.
Yeah.
So in that dance, I was just like, okay, I am not having a good time, but it's not this person's fault. I am sure that somebody else dancing with this person will have the best dance of the night. So I kind of just put that into myself, the blame into myself. Look, you guys reach out to me on social media and let me know if this is healthy enough or not, because actually I don't know. I'm still going through this process and I don't know how to deal with this very specific situation. So yeah.
Can I say something real quick? I think the word blame might be too heavy. Like when you say I blame myself, because then it comes from a place of like there's someone doing something wrong, or there is a wrong person and a right person when this idea of blaming or guilt comes in. I think it's more like in this specific situation, like you were saying, someone else could have had a good experience with the same person. Like someone else can enjoy Mexico and I don't. So I blame myself for not enjoying that thing that someone else could enjoy. I think it's less of a thing of, it could be, there's a thing of switching the key. It could be less of a thing of blaming yourself and more into an aspect of accepting that for whatever reason, you don't want to go to Mexico and just being fine with it. Because I have had, and then we go into the aspect of relationships in general. I have had very complicated situations, and I was actually talking to a friend about the situation in which the desire to feel good about a situation creates guilt for not feeling good about the situation that you desire to feel good. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And then that just starts going around in the sense like, I wish I felt better about this, but I don't. So I feel bad because I don't. And then it just keeps rolling. Man, that's so difficult. I think this topic that we are talking about is highly complex. There are so many variables to it. And I don't want any of you listening or us that think in any way that we are experts on this topic or that we know everything about it just because it's so complex. We have been through some stuff and we are sharing some of it here, the limitation of time we have. The thing is, there is a lot of mind tricks. There's a lot of things that our minds, as a result of our upbringing, creates in a way that we think we should react or should be like. Just because everybody else likes something, we think we should like that thing as well. Just because someone else have fun with this person, we think we should have fun with this person too. It's this thing that I tell everybody. One of my most uncomfortable dances that I wish I had finished earlier was with someone that won the Jack and Jill. So that person that won the Jack and Jill that everybody gave first place was the dance that I had that I wish I had ended earlier because of the discomfort, the physical discomfort that I felt.
Was that dance in the social or at the Jack and Jill?
In the social. No social dancing with someone. So yeah, just interrupt a little bit your flow. Just to like share a little bit of this thing because it was something that I had just talked to a friend about. Exactly about this topic of the blaming yourself for, not being truly, fully enjoying that particular situation. But please go on.
No, this is very valuable because it is something that I would definitely tell somebody who asks me that question. So it's good to hear from you something that I would probably have said to somebody else in my situation. It's a good reminder, and that's why we need to talk to friends or talk to therapists, because a lot of the times we know what we need. We just don't necessarily provide the same advice to ourselves that we would provide to somebody else.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I think that portion of differentiating it, I want to, I'm willing to, I don't want to, I need to, I should, it's really fascinating because it shows the complexity of everything. Because one of the things that can happen a lot is when you want to at first, and then throughout the course of the thing, it becomes, I don't want to anymore. And how to communicate that, and how to, in this case, for example, of a dance. You started a dance, you wanted to dance, you were there, and then something happens that you don't want to dance anymore. And that's the thing that adds another layer of complexity. Accepting that it can be anything that causes the want to become, I don't want to anymore. Sometimes we create a judgment of the gravity of a situation. So something was not so bad, so okay, I'll stay a little longer there. But that's your rationally thinking, because your body is telling you like, no, let's get the hell out of here. But then your brain is like, that was not so bad. It was actually quite chill. Né? And that's, I think, adds a whole other layer of complexity into this conversation, because of all the art forms that I did that are movement related, and that includes massage, that, you're not moving together, but you are dealing with another body. Even some meditations that I did, maybe all of them actually, they all involve tuning in with how your body is feeling, and all involve tuning in with the sensation of discomfort. In certain situations, like in meditation, the sensation of discomfort is more for you to observe it and understand that it will go away in the same way that the sensation of comfort will go away. So in meditation, because you are on your own, you have that understanding that things will go away. In movement arts that are with two people, the discomfort that you feel can be easily perceived by the other person. However, in our art form, your discomfort might not be perceived by the other person. And most times will not be perceived by the other person, because the other person not always tune in with themselves and with you to feel or to get from your body discomfort sensation that can be translated in muscle tensing up, motions in which you want to create distance. Because one other thing that we learned is that the body seeks comfort when it's uncomfortable, naturally. Yeah. We silence the natural instinct, however, it still manifests in some ways. The thing is that because our art form involves lead and follow, involves a language, not always the other person is tuned in with that more subtle, with that subtlety. And then it's up to you to tune in with your own discomfort and realize, even if the situation was not, to your mind, grave enough for you to take, for example, a more drastic approach. I'm not going to call drastic approach ending the dance. Yeah. It's not that drastic, but just for the purpose of this conversation. And you end in the dance, so that's something that is really fascinating about it, because we often separate mind and body as two different entities. And the more I read, the more I exercise the other activities that I do, movement related, the more I see that they are actually one single unity. They are one entity, mind, body, and one relates to the other directly. So I think exercising that communication of directly from the body into action, rather than from the body processing your head and then taking action or not, I think we can start to get into a way into tuning in more and then working on the ways to communicate that in a loving, caring way, in a way that just communicates what's going to be better for you rather than blaming the other person for what they're doing. Yeah, and I think that's the other very complex part too, for a whole nother episode. The feedback portion.
But I think we can go next and start talking about how to say no. Once you understand what situation you're on and how you're feeling and like the symptom and the diagnosis of the situation, how to say no. Because there are so many different ways that you can deal with this, whether you like to be blunt and honest or not, it does affect more than just you. How you say it, it really affects that person, and it can ruin somebody's day, night, or even dance dreams for years.
Oh yes, it can. I have seen it happening.
So the first thing that I would like to always recommend, which is something that I've learned to recommend myself, is to be fully transparent and honest about what you need in that moment. Somebody asks me to dance, and I will tell them, actually, right now, I'm just enjoying the music, but can we dance later? That's one situation, but you can replace the words I used in any different way. But I think like explaining to the person, being honest and transparent with them about the situation, even if it's as strong as, right now I'm too tired, you are a very high energy dancer, so maybe let's dance tomorrow earlier in the night. Trust me when I say this, I have heard this multiple times about my dancing. I have asked people to dance, students and teachers, and they tell me, Alison, why do you ask me now? I'm so tired. I love dancing with you. I want to dance with you, but I don't feel like I have enough energy because, like, the music is so high energy now, and I know that you like to do your high energy dance, so maybe ask me earlier in the evening. And that was just so funny and honest, but totally understandable at the same time, that it never felt like a no. Does that make sense? So I think that's the first and most important thing that I would say on the first stage of learning how to say no. Really being honest about why you don't want to dance at that moment.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I found to be important and equally difficult is to say no in a way that addresses what you are needing, addressing what is it that would be better for you in that situation. So if you are tired or if you are just wanting to watch, that you say, no, I wanna rest. No, thank you very much, but I just wanna watch for a little bit. And something that I celebrated when I started doing, saying no to a dance because you wanted to dance with a friend. That was one that took some time, took a long time for me because I was wanting to dance with a friend, but someone else would invite me to dance and I would say yes. Wanting to dance with my friend. And then they would happen again and again and again and again to the point that sometimes I would not dance with my friend the whole night because of the several invitations that I got, and I said yes to all of them. And when the first time that somebody asked me to dance and I said, oh, thank you, my love, but I'm going to dance with my friend right there. And then I went and I danced. It was amazing. So when I invited that person to dance again, I was full again. My battery was filled up again. So that's something that I learned to be attuned to, my own battery. We have a battery that runs really low. And I started to realize for myself that it runs low with a blink of an eye. And it's really not really the case, and not suddenly my battery is low. It was a silent process happening in the background that I could not notice, which is that idea, I'm slightly going over some boundaries here that are still unidentified. But again, I feel it in my body. Suddenly after a dance, I'm really, really tired. And then I don't want to dance anymore, I just want to go home. And so in the aspect of giving the feedback is that honesty can really help, and the honesty in a non sort of blaming way, to say that there is something that the person is doing or about the person cause you not to want to dance. Alison heard that, then Alison, because of your energy, maybe let's dance at another time. And he was able to take it really well. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind too, I think.
And those people will usually find Gui right after that. Because it's like, okay, right now I'm in a perfect mood to dance with Gui.
Yes. And that's something interesting too. Sometimes like you want to dance with a friend that is some sort of anchor for you, or some sort of someone that you trust, someone that you resonate with, that will bring you, they'll bring you more. That's something really, really beautiful. And I think it's amazing if we can accept that there are some people that can actually help you be more alive, be more open to be with more people.
Yeah, on the other side of that coin, I've had people come to me and say, hey, Alison, can we dance, please? I'm having a terrible night. I just really need to feel like I can dance. And you always challenge me, and you always do these crazy things, which I always feel like good about afterwards, even if I didn't get everything, just because I feel like, you know what, I can dance.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, exactly. There is something for everybody, man. And there was one more thing too that is interesting about this, is when you're very tired, you're there, lying down on the couch, barely alive, but then a music that you like plays. But then a person that you really like to dance with sits next to you. And then some life comes out of nowhere. And that I don't want to dance become I want to dance. And so that can happen as well. The issue sometimes is when that happens right after someone else asks you to dance. And you said, oh no, I'm tired, I'm resting here. And you really, really in this, you're fully onto the resting vibe. But then the circumstances change and something comes up and you want to dance again. That's challenging. How many times that might have happened to you and to everybody.
So many. And I think it's important for us to talk about this because it's something that upsets people in the community a lot. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I asked that dancer to dance with me and they said no, but then I turned around and they're dancing with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's something that we need to talk about because just like what Gui described perfectly, there are moments where you say, I don't want to eat. But then somebody brings something to you that like you've been wanting to have in a long time, but you didn't remember that you wanted that. It just happened in the moment. And your yes becomes no, or your no becomes yes. Like a yes and a no is something that can change at any point.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't really make somebody else feel bad about it because it happened at that moment. The no came because that no was natural and it was honest. But then if you turn around and somebody else got a yes, I know it's painful to watch and see, but I think it's something that we have to work on ourselves to be accepting that anybody can say yes and no whenever they want, unless you know that it was personal. Don't assume it was personal.
Yes, that's super hard because I think in the way that we were brought up, because I think in the way that we were brought up, we have a tendency to believe that everything is our fault, that we did something wrong. I remember the first time that it happened to me as a bolsista, as Jaime Rocha, I'll never forget the day in which in a social, it was the Baile do Tum Tum, the Tum Tum party that was designed for beginners. And I remembered getting there as a beginner bolsista, beginner dancer. I invited this follower to dance, and she said, no, I'm resting. And then I went outside to drink my water. It was like 5 seconds outside water. When I came back, she was dancing all happy and doing all the things with this other bolsista that was a lot more experienced than I was. And I was devastated. I was so sad. It was horrible. And then I remember feeling at the time, this is never going to happen again. I'm going to become so good and nobody's going to ever say no to me. So I went into this vengeance mindset so strongly. But I was 17. So now it's very different now. And I can understand that because in 2018, when I went back to Brazil after living a year in the US, people knew me here. People didn't know me in Brazil. And I got all my no's. I got the maybes. I got the dances that the music barely finished and the person is already saying thank you after the first song. So I learned over time through therapy that it's really not personal. Yeah, because the person didn't even know me. And I know I was smelling nice. I know that I was just being the dancer that I am, and the dancer that here in the US at the time took me to a place where I became someone that teaches, someone that is a reference point for a group of people, So I knew it was not personal. But that's really hard. That's really, again, it took so much time. It took years. So everything that we are saying here carries a level of complexity because we are basically dealing with mental structures that were created over a long period of time in a moment in which we were more prone to believe or to build the way that we connect ideas that are now so sedimented in the depths of our minds that it's really hard to undo or to reshape them. So these are situations that are really common. Like Alison said, and we need to talk about this because they truly happen. And understanding that the reason that took someone that told you no before, because they are resting, and then you see them dancing with someone else right after, has absolutely nothing to do with you necessarily. It can just be the music is too nice for that person, or they are dancing with someone that they trust will treat their bodies well. And that's something that is enough. Is really, really enough. And for me, it serves me as inspiration and also serves me as training for me not to let frustration build, not to let resentment build, which I think is a very dangerous, very complicated feeling to develop, the resentment one. And just to observe the situation like, that happened. Feel the feelings, but don't get attached to them.
In the end of the day, I think what works for me is to build some steps of how to make that decision and what actions to take. I'm sorry, I'm methodical. That's how my brain works. But I need to have some sort of system that guides me to make decisions that are too emotional or too difficult for me to make. So the yes for me and yes for the person is one system that when my emotions are confused, I just ask that question to myself and I feel the reaction and how my body and my brain reacts instantly when I say that. Things like asking myself, do I want to dance with this person to this music right now? Understanding those things that affect us will make us happier in the social. Because most of the times we are not happy simply because we are saying no to ourselves, one after the other. And you end up going into a spiral that you think you're not a good dancer, your technique is not good enough, you're never going to be good, people don't like you, you're not a good friend. You go into all of those other things that most likely are not true in any case or any percentage, but we just go there. So having a system that you can work through really helps me understand what's going on. And hopefully with the things that we shared with you today here in the episode about my experience, Gui's experience, and how we see this in dance community can help you go through this journey, whether you're a beginner, experienced, or a professional, because all levels go through this all the time.
All the time. And
it doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't go away. You do become more confident in your boundaries because you know that every time you say yes, there's more energy in that yes, in that acceptance of that invitation in whatever form it comes from. In our situation, it also involves invitation to go somewhere to work, propositions of like how to work and all these things. We have other yeses involved too.
So many.
Classes to teach and how, all this stuff. The one thing that I would advise is to really find ways to tune in with your body as much as possible. Because so many times now, Alison, we heard this from our students. I thought that was the way. I didn't feel good, but I thought that that was supposed to be, and then when they understand that that is not how it's supposed to be, they were like, oh, I should have said no then. But at the time, you didn't know better, So, and then it comes the thing of blaming again. So,
Ask the teacher, ask the organizer, ask a friend, is this normal? Should I be worried about this? Should I accept this? Because maybe the way you brought up, or maybe you came from a different dance community, which is very often the case. People come from a different dance community and they say, well, I danced there for 10 years and this was normal, but here you guys do it different because it's Brazilian Zouk. Or any dance community that you may be involved in. You may be going from salsa to tango. Bro, be prepared for a shock. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be different. You're going to need to learn how to understand the community, not just the dance. So there are so many things that we've talked a lot about before in previous episodes, but they all connect with this as well.
Yeah, exactly. So tuning in, lower back pain, back of the neck pain, your shoulder, something's up with your knee, any of these things, they are signals. Your body sending you signals for you to pay attention to. And that sometimes just a request can make everything change. I want to finish with this story. I think the person in our dance worlds that became the master of boundaries is Brenda. Brenda, I think she became someone who's a reference point in this topic. And I traveled with her for almost a year, and I saw her developing that skill over time. And it was really interesting because it became predictable. I would watch her dancing with someone, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look comfortable. I'll count to 5, and then she'll stop the dance and talk to the person. And I'll be like, 5, 4. And then it was certain as day. She would I would see that she would stop and she would look up to the leader, and I'd see her talking some stuff and pointing to parts of her body. And then they would resume the dance, And so I haven't seen a moment where she stops the dance. Went away. Everything I witnessed, it was a moment of pause to talk about something, ask what the person can do to make that dance feel better for her. So there's a lot of how can this dance become more pleasant and easy? And then they would continue, no problem. So that was actually very inspiring to me. And I think it serves as a case and as an opportunity for people to see that that's possible.
I think that's
to ask
beautiful.
For what you want, and then not blame the person, not point to the person that's saying, oh, that you are doing something wrong and I need to end this dance. Not at all. None of that is needed. And there are so many other stories about this, but we'll leave you guys hanging for more for a future episode.
Alrighty, guys. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Gui, for sharing his experiences with us. And we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next time, everybody.
Beijos, beijos. Abraços. Tchau.